Hey guys, here, Gene. Welcome to my fourth track of my competitive contact racing playlist, which is available for both Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. The link is in the description below for both of these, so just check them out, and also for the track as well. This is the fourth track of the playlist. I've currently got 6 tracks in total for both consoles, and I'm going to be working on 2 more, which is going to be 8 in total for this particular playlist. Each of these tracks have a descriptive, detailed description. As you see here, for example, for this track, this is the 4th track I'm showing you, called Cheetah Grand Prix. It states, are you quick enough to beat the cheetah? Engage with the most famous routes, guiding you to an alternate dimension with elegant prop coordination, taking you through a very unique route. You wouldn't have even thought of it until now. The cheetah moves swiftly, exuberantly, changing directions until you reach the end, where you're given the option to anticipate the directional movement to beat it. Would you go left or right? So basically that's sort of indicating that at the end of the race is going to be an alternate route you can take to go to the finish line. But hey, it turned out the initial layout of the track looked like an upside down bong, as you can see. It turned out to be pretty cool. Hey, at the end of the day, even though these descriptions are rather cheesy, they make the track look more professional, and that's what I'm aiming for. So all of these, each of these tracks will have that description of some sort related to the track. So let's get right into the example of the track. So this was a pretty damn awesome race that I had on this particular track. Fortunate enough to get the footage ready for you guys, as you know, it was kind of recently which this occurred. So it was another one of these battles which wasn't really a consistent battle, but it just turned out to be fortunate timing with a photo finish, which is quite uncommon in GTA racing. It's happened before in the past, but it was the same person that I did it with, and it was Picano, and at that time it was a non-contact environment with sports. I believe we had the Feltzes, and literally our cars were on top of each other, inside each other basically. And it was a photo finish. But this time it happened in a contact environment, which is pretty cool, and I feel like it's even better because it's kind of difficult to get 2 cars side by side. You know, it's quite uncommon actually, you know, into a photo finish. So yeah, it's one of those tracks, man. All my tracks, I've intended and designed it that way, so you guys can get these awesome epic battles with the right set of players with equivalent skill level to get some clean racing, because it's very difficult, you know, sort of to get the right balance with these tracks, because there's so many different variations that you can do with routes, and you really have to sort of balance it out with, there's quite a few technical bits, and then there's quite a few straights for relaxing points, and to just get your concentration levels back, really to balance everything together to get a really good track and get a nice flow to it as well, because sometimes some tracks have way too many corners with no resting points, and that can make it a little bit more annoying and irritating for consistent battles and this and that, because constant movement of the fingers on the analog sticks, man, it creates a cramp, and you can't keep doing that consistently depending on who you are. Anyway, the point is, this particular track is quite a flowy track. So, I mean, you may think it's got quite a bit of straights and whatnot, but it's quite a few technical parts, just like you saw there. That particular section, the way I've designed the the props. So you gotta really just, you know, use that and guide your way through that particular route, which is, you know, really difficult to actually create if I had not have used those tie lines the way I designed that, with sort of a question mark bird's eye view design. In the particular at the end section, like you saw in the description of this track, you know, you get to choose different directions, an alternate route. You know, if you're in a battle and it gets a bit tight because there's 2 roads going up, it's tight. You can sort of split up. You can choose left or right, and they both have the same availability of curbs to use with the finish line. So it's up to the driver to decide if he's feeling confident or comfortable enough to do that in that situation, which you'll see what I'm talking about once you see it in the footage. But I thought it's a pretty cool idea just to use as very little checkpoints as possible, but making sure everyone's sort of clearly indicated where the finish line is, which it's kind of self-explanatory with the final checkpoint, as it's just a straight all the way to the finish line. So I think it's a pretty unique race for that, with a unique route, which is quite often not used that way in a racetrack. So really having to try to innovate with the props in the game is something that I personally like to do when it comes to a racetrack anyway, to create unique designs which no one else would have done, and you can use that with the props appropriately if you get that idea first and design just by looking at it from the bird's eye view. So all of this needs to be fitted within a sort of a proper standard race, because obviously you can put props down and whatnot, but it may not be suitable for overtaking position, or a design that is suitable for that in a racing environment. So you got to really think about that as well, and how much space you're going to give and how you're going to design it with the appropriate props, because right now you only got 50 props, right? So it's kind of difficult to get these designs out there. But for next gen, once we get it for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you know, obviously there's going to be more props when designing tracks. This way actual proper tracks can be made where there's actual guidance to lines to follow, instead of just constantly going on curbs and pavements to race. I know most of my tracks do have a lot of these to use, but like I said, man, it's all good because it's all in preparation for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One once GTA comes out in the next 2 months. So that's gonna be sick. And like I said, I'm hoping for 30-man races. That's why I've already got these wide roads prepared for that. But you know, this is all we can do right now because Los Santos areas pretty much consist of the most of the wider roads within the game when it comes to double lanes and whatnot. Obviously Tonga roads as well without any lampposts, because those are the pretty much suitable races at the moment. But it's always nice to race within the inner city, and this entire playlist is based around this particular area along with Rockford and these areas over here. So mixing it together is really nice to get nice overtaking zones and battles as well. There's a collision here between Picano and Quaper. I managed to squeeze through and take the first position. I think there's 2 more laps left, or 3 more. But this particular race has got a few sections of the Los Santos Grand Prix, which is a race that Bruffy made. I'm sure you guys know that particular track. Most of these races were inspired from that track. It's quite an old track, but I wanted to create designs sort of variant around that, so you get a nice sort of mixture of things, a nice flow as well, and my own sort of thought going into certain parts of this particular prop placement, which had to take some time to think about, but it turned out to be that way. And like I said, people, after these 8 tracks, I'm not working on any more tracks until next gen. We'll see what happens and what we have available for the game. One of the main things I'm excited about is the initial sort of graphical change to the game and the physics about it as well, and to see if the cars actually have any sort of change to that, any sort of response, the difference between each of these cars, any sort of little tweaks to performance and whatnot. Those are the things I'm going to keep an eye out for next gen, and that's something I keep saying next gen. My apologies, PS4, Xbox One, you guys know what I mean. So this is where I hope to see improvements to the initial car performance, well, which most likely won't happen because I don't think they'll change the game that much, because they haven't said it anyway. They haven't said it in sort of description or details, but certainly we know obviously the graphics and the physics on it change. So does that mean they're gonna have extra detail in these cars? Of course, but what about extra modifications maybe as well? These are the things that I'm looking out for. But the new vehicles especially, I'm hoping they'll add 1 car for each class. That'll be more than enough at the moment, but maybe even 2, you know, like, because we haven't seen a new supercar in a while. I know we got a Zentorno to fill in the gap from the boredom of using the Entity a lot, but now we've got the Zentorno now, and we've been overusing this pretty much all the time. Where everyone uses it, it kind of gets a little bit boring as well. So it would be nice to see a variation for the cars as well for each of the classes, so people have the option to choose different cars rather than the same cars having to go for a win. And obviously you're hoping for a system change as well with podium finishes and whatnot, but that's something, you know, we can't really expect, but just hope for. But you know, this, like I said, this game is like, could potentially be a sandbox if they allowed it. It kind of is a sandbox right now with content creating, but you know, to a certain extent. But there's a lot of things you can do with this game, and I'm just thinking, how much can PS4s and Xbox One handle of this game, and to what extent? Because obviously we know right now PlayStation 3 and Xbox can barely handle this game. Even with 50 props, you know, shit takes an eternity to load at the beginning of a race. You know, when you got these barriers down and props in Thailand, they don't even spawn after you hit the first checkpoint, and everyone just goes spinning off course, and some people will glitch out in between the bloody barriers when they just spawn and the car just tramples over and the car goes flying. So there's so many different little issues right now. You know, PlayStation constantly freezes, Xbox freezes randomly. So hopefully all of this, you know, all of these problems get fixed from the next gen of GTA 5. So that's the thing, man. Oh, by the way, the designs of these tracks and having to duplicate it from PlayStation 3 to Xbox 360 is pretty much precise. There's nothing that is out of place, and it's literally came down to my OCD. But you know, some tracks do take about a couple hours to recreate, even though they look very simple, because I wanted to make sure the props are exactly duplicated between both these consoles precisely. So you won't see any sort of out of place prop, and they're exactly the same tracks with the exact same checkpoint placements as well, with the start to finish and in each interval and each exact checkpoint as well. So you see right now I make a mistake by hitting the pole. What this meant is sort of balanced out both our speeds together off that little clash out there as well with the wrong lines that we both took. So the final second to last corner, I thought I'd break into the apex because I saw he was already in the inside line. I knew he was going to go wide on the initial exit. Now we both got equivalent speed side by side. I decided to take the left hand side. he decided to go to the right just to avoid any sort of unnecessary collision for the final finish. And lo would you know, he was coming to the right hand side of creeps, and I thought he took the win. For a moment I thought we broke the game as well, because everything literally went black like this. But it turned out, looking at the split times, we literally crossed at the same time, but I just about took it by 0.020, like literally just about that sort of area, man. That's some crazy split times right there. We literally crossed at the same time, just a little inch. You know what I mean? That, man, is crazy how close that was. But that was an epic race on this 4th track of the playlist. Definitely give it a go. As I said, the playlist link is available in the description below, as well as the track as well. Give it a go, try it out, the entire playlist, try it with your friends, try race properly with it, and give me some feedback and criticism. I'd be greatly appreciated. I'll make some changes if that's what you want. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Check it. Sign out. Good night. Peace. Yeah. Hey guys, Cheetah here, aka Genius. So I apologize for not posting yesterday. I was supposed to post the 3rd track yesterday of the 8-track playlist that I'm creating at the moment for racing for both.